Andy Crump, sorry, I should have said first and last name. Derek Kugel. And Karen Morey.
Present.
And I am Troy Bollinger. So thank you again, everybody. Noticed in your packet here actually two packet or minutes, I guess, to review or to take a look at and then approve. The first one was our May 12th work session, and then there was the May 27th regular session. So and Brent, since you jumped in, why don't you wave at everybody so we know who you are as well. Thank you. So any questions, comments about the two packets for minutes? Okay, anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to, this is Andy Crump. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
This is Brent Haverkamp. I second that motion.
Tim West.
Aye.
No, Andy Crump was the motion. Brent, oh, sorry. I thought you were repeating to me. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just seconded Andy's motion.
All right. You ready for me, Troy? To do roll call?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, you're good. Go for it.
All right. Tim West.
Aye.
Karen Morey.
Aye.
Troy Bollinger.
Aye.
Jeff Sargent. Derek Kugel.
Aye.
Andy Crump.
Aye.
Sean Datchler. Brent Haverkamp.
Aye.
All right.
All right. This is the time for public comment. This part of the agenda is for citizens to present information relevant to the city, but is not listed on our agenda. And if any of you wish to do that, needed to contact prior to the meeting, Kendall Reed at the email address that's on the agenda. Kendall, do we have anyone that's requested some time?
We did have one request by Dee Dee, but she wasn't sure if she would be able to make the call.
Okay. Did she then submit her comments or thoughts, or was she just going to do it in person or not?
She was just going to do it in person if she could make it.
Yeah,
Okay,
Troy
all right.
Dee Dee's heading back up from California via the coast, and her reception's in and out.
Okay. Okay, so general business, we've got the review of the PRAC goals, and one of our goals on there is to review the PRAC goals as well as the city commission goals and any other goals that of any other committees part of the city, and just make sure that what we're doing here with PRAC is in alignment with those. So it's not a time for us to submit any really opinion to anybody about their goals, but just see how they align with ours. So those are in your packet. Does anybody have any questions or discussion? We won't do, there's no vote here. This is just a time for discuss and make sure we're in alignment and give some opinion and make sure that we're doing what we need to do as well. So any comments? Okay, and I'm going to trust, unless you tell me differently, I'm going to trust that everyone, saw the packet and then, of course, had the chance to take a look at the city commission goals as well as PRAC goals, which we will be addressing some of the PRAC goals tonight as required to do in June. But I trust that you've had a chance or taken the chance to look at those. Is there anybody that did not receive those in the packet or could not find them in the packet? Okay, so Kendall, let it be noted that we had opportunity to review and discuss. There were no comments, and we will do this again as required here every 2 months. So we'll certainly have opportunity for that. Then the hang on a second. I got two different things I'm toggling between here. Pardon me. Kendall, I guess before we move on, Kendall, did you have any comment to add about the city commission goals and how they align with PrAC?
Actually, actually, I just wanted to highlight that the goals line up very well. You'll notice on the city commission goals that there are two goals. One is to look at the deferred maintenance assessment, to go through the deferred maintenance assessment, present that, and also present funding options. The plan is to bring that presentation back to PrAC at the next meeting on July, I think it's 22nd. So we'll have the consultant come back and present that information, and then we can have some conversations around funding options. The other thing is the update of the Parks Master Plan and the SDCs. So that integrates well with the goals that we have listed for PrAC. So.
Thank you.
Kendall, I'm sorry, Troy, quick interruption. SDC,
Yeah.
What is that an acronym for?
Remember, it's System Development Charges.
Thank you very much.
All right. So along those lines, we do have some information on the Parks and Rec master plan and then the deferred maintenance, as you saw on the agenda. And actually, before we go there, let me go to the PrAC goals, because that'll lead us in really well. Goal number one was to review the 2008 Oregon City Parks Master Plan, and that was at this month's meeting. And to remind everyone, the purpose of that was just to kind of bring everyone up to speed, kind of make sure we've got some information to everybody, because some of us have been here, different amounts of time. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but that was date was for June. And then also in the other thing was number 7 was the master plan. This is going to provide history and background of Clackamas Park and Waterfront Master Plan. And that's also for June. And then, a second here as I look on the deferred maintenance. So that being said, the deferred maintenance, the master plan, Kendall was going to take some time and go over again the 2008, and just remind everybody, the reason we're doing the 2008 is because the most recent we have, and we're going to go forward here, or I should say the city is going to go forward with a master plan, which we will be involved in that process. So we didn't really feel the need to have Kendall or his team redo anything for our purposes. So he's just going to cover some of the highlights from that 2008 master plan. So Kendall, why don't you take a few minutes for that?
All right. 1 second, and I'll share my screen.
All right. And that picture I'm seeing, Kendall, is not a 2008 picture.
I know. Give me one.
It's a 2021 picture. It's a beautiful picture nonetheless, but.
have too many screens up and it's screwing up my sharing. Close this.
Speaking of Lateret Park, I was there with my grandson the other day, and there is very little shade in that whole park, and it'll be a scorcher. And that slide over there, it's gonna burn kids' butt before they really enjoy it. So, do we have any plans for shade in that park?
Well, let's hold off on that because that's not currently on the agenda. So let's do with the master plan here, see what Kendall's got for us. But certainly we will bring that up a little bit later today.
All right. So today I'm here to talk about the 2008 Oregon City Parks and Recreation Master Plan and just provide a high-level review of the plan and talk a little bit about some of the accomplishments that the department has made. So the purpose of the 2008 Master Plan is to help the Parks and Recreation Department meet the needs, the current needs and the future needs of the residents with positioning Oregon City to help build on the community's unique parks and recreation assets, and also identify new opportunities. So the department overview. The Parks and Recreation Department is responsible for the direction of operations and maintenance of a wide variety of services, programs, and facilities that include the Mountain View Cemetery, the Pioneer Community Center, the Oregon City Pool, Ermitinger House, building maintenance, parks acquisition, planning, development, trail and park maintenance, recreation programs, classes, and activities. So the project team, the project team back in 2007 consisted of city staff and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, and that group was led by our consultant, Greenplay. So the project methodology, what they looked at, they did a needs assessment to identify what are the needs of the community, the services analysis, they did an inventory of facilities and parks, an assessment, and recommendation and implementation of strategies. So a really important part of the Parks Master Plan is engagement and engaging with stakeholders. So the public process that they use focus groups, stakeholder meetings, and community-wide public meetings. One of the things they looked at and assessed was the level of service. Level of service, it measures how well residents are served by the amenities at the neighborhood and community level. It considers location and quantity of components. It considers components on a system-wide basis as well as individual park basis, and creates a permanent database that can be updated and reused. Some areas of focus, they looked at funding and pricing and construction costs, operational resources, walking and biking trails, new parks, open space and natural areas, large picnic areas, shelters, natural trails, the nature center, swimming pool, playgrounds, and indoor program space. Some of the recommendations that came out of the master planning process was increased level of maintenance, use available resources and partners to aid in maintenance, repair and renovate existing facilities, increase the comfort and convenience of parks, increase diversity of amenities of parks, determine the best use for neighborhood parks, determine the most efficient action to reduce the number of mini parks and pocket parks owned and maintained by the city, have a plan for park land acquisition, and and measure how well residents are served by amenities at neighborhood and the community level. Also consider location and quantity of components. Consider components on a system-wide basis as well as individual park basis. Create a permanent database that can be updated and reused. Use the 2004 Oregon City Trails Master Plan to increase 6 miles of trails to meet the ORPA median of 9 miles of developed trails. Make parks accessible and inviting for cyclists and other trail users. Provide a variety of programs to meet various needs including special events and local history programs. Collaborate to increase participation by residents and visitors in facilities and services. Build partnerships to maximize community resources, research, and pursue alternative funding opportunities. Some goals. Some of the goals that came out of this was maximize the planning effort, increase level of services in parks and facilities, increase access to parks by implementing trails plan, strategically increase programming and partnerships, increase cost recovery funding, increase marketing and communications to increase credibility, track performance measures, and long-term park and program sustainability. Some of the major accomplishments the Parks and Recreation Department has made over these past 13 years is one is the renovation of the Ermitinger House, the reopening of the end of the Oregon Trail, and the addition of a stage for concerts and picnic tables. We're currently working on the Filbert Run Park construction that should come online later on this year. The DC Latourette Park renovation, Tyrone S. Woods Memorial Park Phase 1 construction completion, the Parents of Murdered Children Memorial, the construction of a new library with playground redesign, the Clackamas Park boat ramp repairs, the acquisition of Waterboard Park, Sportscraft boat ramp replacement and dock replacement, John Storm Park and pedestrian dock construction, the John Storm debris boom construction, the ongoing construction of the Joint Operations Center with Public Works and Parks, which comes online this year, the 2013 amendment to the Trails Master Plan, we completed the department-wide cost recovery analysis and methodology. We also purchased the property on Hilda Street to expand the Mountain View Cemetery. We should have our deferred maintenance assessment be completed this summer. The Glen Oak property purchase, added Nature's Pathway and purchase of additional acre of land to expand services at Mountain View Cemetery. We also, and I say we, my staff, because I wasn't actually here, completed numerous projects to save the Pioneer Center from closure and rescued it from a lengthy list of safety issues and deferred maintenance. We also expanded programming at the Pioneer Center, embraced a more active programming philosophy for classes, so we could have the best experience for adult recreation programming. We invested over $2.6 million to save the pool from closure, partner with numerous community groups and volunteers to increase the quality of maintenance in the parks. And then we also increased staffing for parks maintenance. So there were also some changes in how the department, whatever the department consisted of, and realignment of the department. So I wanted to highlight those. Code enforcement became a part of community service and is now under the police. The library became a special district and it was no longer part of community service. And we also added a facilities division and 2.5 FTEs. And in 2020, community services became parks and recreation. All right, that is the end of my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Tim, please.
Okay, so yeah, lots of accomplishments there. That looks really good. I do have questions. So one of the goals is to increase the trail system by 9 miles in Oregon City. Can you tell me where parts of those 9 miles is going to come from?
Now, I know there's some work that's already been done in regards to like the Cove and the Conema Trail. And I know Jonathan Waverly can speak more to any additional work in regards to the trails, but I specifically am aware of trail expansion happening in those particular areas.
Well, and let's remember here too, Tim, this is a 2008 master plan. So your question is, where is it going to come from? Well, we have a new master plan that's going to be coming in the works that may or may not include that, right? So it might be a little different depending on what's determined. So, I mean, we can certainly address your question. I just want to remind you that this is not really of what's going to happen, but really it was the plan to happen from 08. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. So yeah, I'm sure the Waterboard Trail is incorporated in that, I hope. Kendall, are you saying that Parks Maintenance is going to move from the cemetery to the new shared facilities with the transportation up on top of the hill?
Well, we're not completely moving. There's not enough room for all of the staff to move to this new facility. This facility will house our facility maintenance team. It will house Jonathan, our parks manager, and his park maintenance lead. Am I missing anybody else, Denise or Jonathan, that will be housed there?
No, that's accurate. Myself and our maintenance crew, including facilities maintenance, will all be housed there. Our office staff will remain at Mountain View, and we'll have a staff member who will be on site there as well.
Thank you.
Tim, did you have any other questions?
No.
Okay, Brent?
Hey guys, hey Kendall, nice presentation. And I understand that you're new in your role, so you may not know some of the answers to some of the questions I'm about to ask. But do you know what some of the performance measurements were back in 2008 to track progress?
Good question. Give me 1 second and I can see if I can find out what those were highlighted to be.
Okay.
But in my overview of it, I can't recall the specifics of what the performance measurements were.
Okay, no problem on that. Let me know if you want to look for that answer or if you want me to ask my next question.
You can ask your next question.
Okay, so in one of your slides, you mentioned that one of the purposes of the parks was to invite cycling and trail users. But I know like in some of the park designs, cycling trails were not included in them. And I was wondering is there anything we can do moving forward, to ensure that cycling trails are part of the new parks?
Now, all the parks, before they're constructed, they undergo a master plan process that includes public engagement. So the community is involved in providing input on what they would like to see in those parks.
Okay.
So a way to kind of advocate for that, one way we can do that is when we're updating this master plan and we do the public engagement, people can provide that level of input as this is a need that we have, this is something that we want. But also when we're coming up with these master plans, the individual master plans for these parks, and we engage with the public, they can also provide that information during the design process so that can be incorporated. Obviously, whenever we're designing a park, there's a lot of different requests and a lot of different things that people are asking for. And
Understood.
some of them we can afford, some of them we can't afford. So it kind of just depends on what the desire of the community is and what also the budget is.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kendall. And my last question was the mini and pocket parks. Why was there an effort to not to defer these, or I can't remember the exact words, but it seemed like
Reduce the number of mini
thank
parks.
you.
Well, we have a minimum requirement in regards to acres. It's 3 acres is what we look for the size of a park. And John and Denise can chime in. And I know that there are some concerns with these smaller parks. Are they effective at meeting the needs of the community? Do they serve us well? Or should we look at other options, bigger options to actually better serve the community? But yeah, that is my understanding of the desire to get rid of those mini parks.
No, I think that answers enough right there. Thank you for clarifying that, Kendall. That helps a lot.
So some of the measures that I'm seeing here are associated with cost recovery, program participation, and those are the ones that I'm seeing highlighted in the master plan.
Okay. Thank you, Kendall. That's all the questions I have, Troy.
All right, thank you, Brent. Karen?
Just a reminder, if you go to the city website under public meetings, there's the full packet for tonight's meeting that includes the 2008 master plan and deep breath, the 5-year 2008 vision implementation plan. Yeah, we overshot that one by quite a bit. The other thing on the pocket parks, keep in mind that we went along with designating most of those pocket parks, with the exception of Dement, as charter parks, which would now require a public vote to not have that space be a park anymore. So I would say as we move forward planning, those are parks. That's it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Okay, Kendall, thank you for.
Like Kathy has her hand up.
Oh, Kathy, is this about the master plan here?
That's correct, Troy. I just wanted to point out that I was part of the master plan when it was started in 2004. It wasn't finalized until 2008. And then the housing crisis happened, and the city really went on lockdown with funding. There was no hiring. We had a hiring freeze. So no new positions were approved. And when anyone would retire or quit for whatever reason, their position was not replaced. And the rebound for financial purposes really didn't come until about 2011. And so that contributed to some of the slowness with which we had to respond to our master plan. And really by about 5-6 years, your master plan's outdated. So I think we've done pretty well with what we've had to work with.
Oh, that's some good insight. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. Give me just a second here. Okay. So goal number 2. Should look at the right one here. Yes, goal number 2, working jointly with staff and city commission members, review the deferred maintenance and park infrastructure needs quarterly beginning May 2021, with the goal to help identify amount of dollars needed, funding options, and prioritized list based on the most urgent. Now, as you may remember, we wrote that goal as we did with the understanding that the city shortly is going to start the process of creating an updated master plan, master plan, and then of course to include the deferred maintenance. And so we're just going to review that. And notice it said May 2021. We neglected to do that last month, which is why it's on the agenda this month for June. So there's the kind of the discrepancy there. And then Kendall has, I don't know what, 30 seconds of a little bit of an update and a recommendation for the deferred maintenance piece. So Kendall, if you want to go over what we had chatted about.
Yeah, thanks, Troy. So as you know, we've been working with BVTA, and we received their first draft of their report. And then there was some information that we wanted to incorporate in regards to our comments and actual replacement costs, where we had replaced some items just recently, and we wanted that information to be incorporated into this report. So in an effort to give them the time necessary to get that information incorporated in the report, we have extended our contract with them, and we are pushing the presentation with BVTA to the July 22nd date at the next PRAC meeting. And there we will present that information to you and then go through funding options as well. And so our goal is to bring it to PRAC on July 22nd, and then in August, at a work session in August, actually present that information to the City Commission.
Thank you. So if you notice the goals, we were supposed to review deferred maintenance in May and then again in August, but as Kendall said, and we had talked about this before, that certainly we could accomplish this goal, but for the purpose of just checking it off the list, but it would not really be updated information, which will be available next month. So we don't need to vote on this, but just as an adjustment to this goal, if I can get either head nods that yes, in agreement, or if you're not in agreement, certainly we want to hear your thoughts on the matter. But the request is to take this goal and move it to July, where we're going to have some of that information. And then the final piece will be presented in August, which will accomplish the deadline for the goal for the second quarter. So is anybody opposed to that, or can I get some head nods? That sounds good. Is everyone okay with what Kendall's given us for now, and then moving forward to get it closed out, or not closed out, but meeting that in August? Everyone's okay?
Everyone's
all right, perfect, thanks. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on to member reports. We will have time here in a little bit to bring up any thoughts you may have about agenda items, but in the member reports, if we can just keep it to the reports, that'd be great. And then if you have questions for Kendall or staff or agenda item requests, let's wait for those when those come up a little bit later. So for right now, member reports, and I'm just going to go again, order of my screen. Brent, do you have anything to report on at all?
I do not have a member report at this time.
Perfect, thank you. Andy? Tim?
The only report that I have is that I visited Latrell Park in the afternoon, and there was no shade. It would be very uncomfortable on any hot afternoon, let alone this week. But I was just wondering if we have any plans for trees or an overhead shelter or something for that. A couple of well-placed trees would certainly be helpful.
Okay, and I know Kendall's going to talk a little about some different things in staff reports. So Kendall, if you just want to maybe include some of that, because, and if you, and actually Kendall, if you feel it appropriate, maybe share that piece, but in addition to that, some ideas for Latourette Park for future, near future and future. Because I know we had talked about that a little bit, if you think it's a good time to at least mention that. Karen.
I just want to brag that our Memorial Day celebration was fantastic. If you haven't seen it yet, it is available on Vimeo. There's a link through the cemetery section on the city website. JJ Morrell did gorgeous. Randy has now played his 51st year playing taps for us. And staff did an excellent job working with Willamette Falls Media Center, who did a very professional job. The sound was perfect. I was so impressed. Our staff is to be commended for the efforts that they've made to keep the tradition up in spite of not being able to gather together. The end.
Thank you very much. Derek, give a report.
Nothing this month.
Okay. Kendall, staff reports. So I'll let you handle that. Unmute yourself first.
So a couple of announcements. I'm sure you're all aware of what transpired this past Friday at Clackamas Park. And we did have some information come out from the city on the matter. We are currently working with the police to address that matter at Clackamas Park. We canceled reservations for that particular individual. And we are also moving forward with reviewing our park and reservation policies. Currently, Oregon City Police are investigating the incident, and they will be following up if there is indeed any need to move forward with any punishment in regards to crimes associated with it. But I just wanted everyone to be aware of this. And we are continuing to work with the police and the city manager. We want our parks to be a uniting force and to be a safe place for the community. And we're going to do everything within our power to make sure that that happens. The other thing, Jerry Herman has reached out to me in regards to his letter of support for mitigation funding. I just wanted to provide an update. I did reach out to him to have him provide me a draft of that letter that I will be providing to Troy to sign off on for support of the mitigation funding moving forward. The other thing is I would like to give an update on the status of the PrAC vacancies, or the PrAC vacancy that we have. The position is still posted. The feedback that I received from the committee was that we needed to attract more people and we get it out in more locations. I've reached out to Katie to get a better understanding of where we are with applicants, and I'll be able to provide an update at our next meeting. Other than that, I will now turn it over to Jonathan for his update.
Okay, well, our staff's been very, very busy. I'm pleased to announce that we hired a new Parks and Cemetery maintenance crew leader. His name is Paul Cannell. He started on Monday, and he is already, showing great strides and understanding in our systems. And so I'm really excited to bring him on. I think that'll help us moving forward in a lot of our projects that we're trying to get completed this summer. We received the parts for the spray park at Library Park. And so the spray park is officially reopened this year. So the timing was spot on with the warm weather that we have coming. We also opened up the off-leash dog area at Tyrone S. Woods Memorial Park. So that opening has been successful. There's a lot of happy dogs out there getting to use the off-leash dog area. So really excited about that. And then we have started on the Veterans Memorial. So the old cracked and broken concrete that was once there has been removed, and really excited about our progress that we're making on that project moving forward. So it may be a phased project, but you know, we're really excited about the progress that has taken place on that. Beyond that, just, you know, when you're going around and you guys are looking at the parks, I'm sure you'll notice that they're really busy, and there's a lot of activity, a lot going on. We've got baseball season going on. Rivercrest Park, I went by there the other day, very, very popular. We have there's the sports camps that are being held there right now, and a lot of activity, a lot of events going on. So that's all I have for tonight.
Thanks, John. How about you, Denise?
Hi, good evening. Hopefully you guys can hear me. It's been a little rough on our speakers tonight, but so we have TSW, Tyrone S. Woods Memorial Park. We've been replacing the storm damaged plants at that park site with our contractor, Tapany. So one of the things you'll notice at the park is that our irrigation's on more than just once, usually really early in the morning. We actually have it on during the day as well. And that's just to try and keep the plants established and help reduce as much stressing of the plantings as possible. So we are getting complaints that our irrigation's on, and at some point that'll start to dissipate. But for right now, we're just trying to keep the plants established. We are doing a few more corrections still at Tyrone S. Woods Memorial Park, and that will probably wrap up in the next month or so. You will notice that at the Myers Road storm swales, those are a little bit dry next to Tyrone S. Woods Park. We have identified the problem there and are working to get that corrected. So you'll see an improvement next to the park. DC Lotterette, our fencing panels that will be on that elevated platform above the basketball court, those are delayed. So that we are still waiting to get those in and installed, but the park will remain open at this point, and probably through the installation, we'll just put some protection around that. We don't have a date on that yet, and so we're hoping for an update soon. Filbert Run, that park, we're responding to questions and clarifications for our permit reviews. So we're waiting for final okays to get our permits in hand. And then we'll be looking at notice to proceed with Paul Brothers, who was the selected and awarded contractor for that project. And that has already gone through commission approval. So that's about ready to start. Like Kendall said, the deferred maintenance assessment, all the draft comments have been returned to BVTA. On the facility side, we have, I think, 3 roof projects that we're working right now. So 3 roof projects and some HVACs at the Pioneer Center that have been replaced. The HVAC should actually all be up and running by today. So let's see. Other than that, I think we've just been really busy running and gunning and getting ready for the facilities to all start reopening, which then tasks are a bit of our facility staff to kind of make adjustments and things of that nature as requested. So not only are they busy with capital projects, but just getting other buildings and facilities ready to go. That's about all I have.
Thanks, Denise. Kathy?
Why am I always last? Like Denise said, we've had cranes at the Pioneer Center putting, I think we had I know we had a 7.5 ton, a 5 and a 4 ton heat pump plucked off and replaced. They had to come back a second time because they forgot the curbs. And we still need the economizers put in. When I left today at 5:30, the lobby was 80. So I think we're going to need some adjustments, which is typical for these big equipment pieces coming in. There's always something they need to adjust, which I didn't tell you earlier, Denise, so now you've been told. We are having our welcome back barbecue on July 2nd. So far, we've got 70 RSVPs. So that really means probably 100+ people showing up for our barbecue. And we plan to hand out our activity calendar for summer, which is a temporary calendar, just because we don't have a lot of our instructors back. That won't happen until fall. Probably most of you don't know that I have to apply every year, me personally, for a gaming license for bingo and poker. So I'm waiting for my gaming license approval, pending that little dust up. I can't have any convicted felonies. Convicted. So they'll get that approved for me.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay.
So as soon as I get my gaming license, we'll have bingo. The foot care clinic will be coming back. Our law project will be coming back. And so we're trying to be mindful with cost recovery, a lot of those drop-in activities and support groups that utilized our facility. We're trying to be thoughtful about where to place those, that they don't impact when we can really rent the building for revenue. We have, the pool has their kid camps in the basement, which have been wonderful. The kids are having a great time. We've only had 2 bee stings. So bees are back, which is pretty great. But, you know, it happens. That's sort of a rite of passage of summer. Will be officially opened back online July 6th. And this weekend we will be utilized as a cooling site, both Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Saturday and Sunday noon till 8 and Monday noon till 6. So I think that's it. I did want to say a big thank you to Brent, who spent a couple hours with me and my Meals on Wheels coordinator of his own time to get to know the Pioneer Center better. And it's a complex system that it takes a while to understand. And he spent a lot of time with us, had great questions, and we just really, really wanted to thank him for taking that time to get to know what our center provides to the community. So thanks a lot, Brent. I really, really do appreciate that.
Absolutely my pleasure, Kathy, and thank you for taking the time to have me.
And that's my report.
All right, thanks, Kathy. And that's the end of our update.
Okay, any questions from the committee for Kendall or his staff? Okay, Kendall, I have a question. I saw the city's announcement about last Friday. I also got some feedback from the public on that announcement, and that kind of created this question. So in there you said, and you made the mention tonight, that the person that rented the park, reserved the park, that time, that person is no longer at this point able to reserve the park, or any park in Oregon City. The announcement then also said that the city will not allow anybody involved in the situation to reserve the park. First, let me say, I think that was a good move and the best move, so I support that. My question to that is and this is what wasn't in the announcement and kind of sparked some of the feedback I got. So my question is, when the investigation is concluded and determined, I guess you could say the perpetrators, if you will, the suspects, however it's, addressed, depending what they find, as well as the victims, how is it going to be addressed then for those that maybe were participants? Well, I guess that one's answered, but the one that was reserved the park, if it's found that some of the people that maybe their opportunity reserve was removed, and after the investigation, maybe there's some things that are cleared, that wasn't addressed in the announcement. Do you know, is it the plan then to remove that restriction once they're cleared and everything? What are you thinking?
That hasn't been discussed at this time. Obviously, when someone puts in a reservation, we will do our due diligence to make sure we know what's happening in our parks to the best of our ability, and continue to communicate with the police if necessary, if there are any issues that come up. But that aspect has not been discussed.
Okay, probably something just to keep in mind, because I know the feedback I got was, well, that's not fair, because just because they were there doesn't mean they participated, or just because he reserved it or she reserved doesn't mean it's their fault. And my response to them was, well, hang on a minute, we got to make a move here before we, so we can figure everything out. But then the feedback was, okay, but what if they're cleared, right? So anyway, just something to think about that wasn't addressed, that when people are cleared, that, their privileges should probably be restored. If they're not cleared, of course, then they don't get restored. I think that's only fair. Brent, comments, questions?
Yeah, it kind of ties on to what you're talking about, Troy. And, how does somebody that's tied in with a group that's associated with violence, whether it's Proud Boys, whether it's Antifa, whether it's another group, what type of background checks are done to the individual that is signing up to reserve a place for a park that might be tied in with one of these groups?
Well, what you have to understand is most of the reservations that we get are individuals.
Correct.
It's not organizations who come to us and say, hey, a lot of times I like to reserve this for an organization. It's attached to a person.
Understood.
And so in the aspect of if they're associated with a group, we're not interested in keeping people from utilizing our parks. And we want our parks to be a safe space. And we're not trying to ban people for any of their beliefs. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to manage the situation appropriately and do our due diligence on our end to make sure that our parks remain safe and for the entire community. But we support free speech, and we will continue to do so.
Thank you for saying that, Kendall. My only concern, and I'll go on the record of saying this, is if somebody is tied with a group, and I don't want to politicize this, I'm just concerned about a repeat event of this, and if there's any type of mitigation effects that can go in to mitigate a repeat scenario. That's all I'm saying.
And we're pursuing every opportunity to do that. Like I said, we're looking at our reservation policy to see what we can do on our end to mitigate any of these issues in the future. And so, but I also want to commend the Parks Department for how they handled the situation, because when these reservations were made, we were in contact with police, and we had conversations with them, and we notified them immediately. So we're trying to do whatever we can to mitigate any issues that might come up.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that there is an opposing group that shows up to confront them either. So you have to look at the whole spectrum of everything. So thank you, Kendall.
Tim?
So there was a note sent out by James Graham, the Oregon City's economic development manager, sent out to all Oregon City businesses saying, do you support just only opening up the parks to inclusive, positive things, and not have divisive organizations reserve parts in our parks to make a statement. And Kendall, I think that to have our board right here go ahead and adopt that kind of philosophy, it would be very positive. It would be a step in the right direction. And it's something that we got to make a statement also, and not just let the Oregon City economic developer that works for our city make that statement. I think the Parks Department has to make a statement like that.
Okay, so to clarify, because you're making a recommendation here for the committee, so I think more than just sharing your thoughts.
Okay.
What I want to make sure I understand. So let me ask you this first. Are you making a formal recommendation for the committee? Are you asking, or are you just sharing thoughts?
I'm making a recommendation.
Okay. All right. And that's fair. I just want to make sure I wasn't, that I was addressing it the right way. So, so what then, and I appreciate the explanation, so that's helpful, but so we understand the actual recommendation. What is it you're recommending? You said a statement like that. Can you be more specific? What are you asking us to stand for?
Has everybody seen this note for peace from James Graham, who is the Oregon City Economic Development Manager? All right. He has a whole letter that says that Oregon City has a long, deep-rooted history, and it took a lot of time and effort to make Oregon City a positive place. And to go ahead and we want to go ahead and, my recommendation is just to have this committee adopt this peace note that.
Okay, so are you asking us as a committee to, I guess, make a statement in support of that statement that you're reading?
So what James...
Hang on, Tim. Tim, I'm just trying to understand. Is that a yes or no? Are you asking us to make a statement in support of that statement?
Is that he sent this note to every business in Oregon City and asked them to sign on to agree with it. I think our Parks and Recs department has to be the leader in that and go ahead and sign up also. So my recommendation is to have our committee right here sign on and be a member of this peace letter that our economic developer initiated.
Okay, so yes or no question.
Yes.
I want to be sure I got this. You're asking us as a committee to make a statement in support of that statement. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Before we comment on, well, actually, let's go ahead and comment on that now. We want to make sure that we don't ignore that, and I want to close that piece out. And Karen and Brent, I see your hands. So hold on to those thoughts. Let's finish with Tim's first, because I don't want to push this aside. Do we have any thoughts, questions, comments on what Tim is asking and recommend?
That is what I was commenting on.
That's fine. And if it is, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we finish Tim's, and then we still will get to the others as well. But Go ahead, Karen, if you've got a comment or a question about Tim's, please.
Yes, Tim, I got that too through OCBA today. It's quite extensive. I know what it says. You've read it. I suspect both of us would be perfectly comfortable signing up in agreement with it, but I don't think it's fair to the other members who haven't had a chance to read the whole thing. Because James did go on at length and made some wonderful points, but I'm not comfortable with people blindly agreeing to something they haven't had the opportunity to read.
It is 3 paragraphs. I'd be happy to read it.
No,
please,
I would prefer if you sent it.
Yes, yeah, so let Tim, so let's go to Karen. Let me make sure Karen's done. Karen, were you finished? You have more?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if there's a way to say that in concept we agree, and if we distribute that to everybody, let them come back and say yes or no, and if you get a majority, we sign off on it. That's kind of really sticky, but maybe.
Okay, Brent.
Yep. Okay, so here's the deal. Thank you, Karen. I am in 100% agreement with you. Tim, you and Karen have had the privilege of reading this letter. I certainly haven't, and I'm not comfortable signing off. However, if you could send it to the Pratt Committee and we could review it to give our own judgment on it and put it as an agenda item, perhaps on the next meeting to vote on, I don't see any reason why we can't go forward with that motion.
I just sent it to Kendall, and Kendall, if you could distribute it to the committee, that'd be great.
Brent,
Thanks, Tim.
Any other thoughts, Brent, on that?
No, I just, I like what Tim is saying, and I'm certain it's a good letter, but I think that the whole entire committee needs to read it and before they sign off on it instead of blindly signing off on it.
And we hear Karen say that, we hear Brent say that. I see some nods and thumbs up as well. So is there anybody else have any thoughts on that in favor or in opposition? Seems like I'm seeing lots of nods and yeses, but I want to give everyone a chance. Okay, my thoughts on that is I agree 100%. Karen and Brent, I've not seen it. So I'm not comfortable signing or agreeing to any sort of statement without not just reading it, and Tim, not even having you read it to us, but rather having an opportunity to review it, dissect it. We represent the community, so we should have an opportunity also to maybe inquire about this with the community and see what their thoughts are once we have a chance to read it. Generally speaking, my personal thought is I have a really difficult time signing a statement that somebody else wrote, simply because the essence of it is probably good. There are pieces of it that we probably agree with, but what I have found is because it's someone else's words and thoughts, sometimes there are a couple of pieces in there that maybe I don't 100% agree with, or they're just, the wording might appear to be different than what we might share. So as we do review this, I would ask everyone to keep an open mind that it's not about do we sign this or not, but there's other options, and it might be to do nothing. That does not mean we don't support it. The other,
just read.
Hold on, Tim. I get a chance to finish too.
Yeah,
let me finish. And the other thought is we could make our own statements. Like, we don't have to agree to someone else's words. We could create our own statement. The other thought I have that I'd like everyone to consider is we are not a governing body. We are not city employees. And so we have to ask ourselves, yes, it's happened in the park. Yes, we are Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, but is this our role? Should we be making these statements? Should we be doing this? Yeah. And individually, certainly we can have these opinions, but as a committee, is this our role? And sometimes we choose not to do things that are good just because it's not our role. And we just kind of stay in our lane and do our thing. So just those are my thoughts, and I ask you to consider those as you're reading the statement that Tim sent and will come to us. Tim, I think I know your answer to this, but because, as you all know, I like to stick to the agenda. This should be a future agenda item, so I'm going to just ask you, Tim, to bring that up when we get to that part on the agenda, because I think it's important, and I don't want to sidestep it right now, but I want to also fit it in where it belongs. Those are my thoughts. Any other thoughts on Tim's request before we move forward? Okay. Any other questions or comments on Kendall's staff report? Any other questions for him on any other pieces of that? Okay, then with that, we will move forward with future agenda items, and I'm going to go in order that I see you on my screen. And Tim, you are first. Kendall, or I assume you're writing these down as you always do. Tim, any future agenda items?
Yes, let's talk about having our committee sign on to the peace letter initiated by James Graham, and to make Oregon City Parks a welcoming place instead of a place that invites people who incite violence and fear in people. So that's what this is all about.
So is your agenda item specific to that letter? Is that what you're wanting?
It is. We got to.
Okay. Any other future agenda items, Tim?
Nope.
Derek?
Nope.
Brent?
Yes. As Kathy mentioned, I've learned a lot about the Pioneer Center, and have gone down, talked with her, learned about the Pioneer Center's needs in the community. And we all heard about the Pioneer Center and all the activities that they have coming up. You know, they expect, Kathy expects, 70 people signed up for the barbecue event, but there will probably be 100 people that show up. They have their activities calendar. They have their foot care clinic. They have drop-in sites. One of the things that in this center that greatly serves our community, but is incredibly underserved, is they need a volunteer coordinator. So I would like to put on a future agenda item, how PrAC can help get a volunteer coordinator for the Pioneer Center.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Brent?
No, that is my main future agenda item at this time.
Okay. Andy?
Nope.
Karen, any questions or for Kendall and his crew?
I'm going to take a step back and then it will become an agenda item. Kendall, by the end of the city commission meeting on the budget, I was losing track, particularly on the supplemental budget. But we got some good news out of that, didn't we?
Yes, we did. One of the things that was addressed was the Waterboard Park property. There was some discussion around reimbursing utility fees associated with acquiring that property and the demolition of the building, which was taken care of and offset by general fund dollars with the supplemental budget. So that was good news for us.
And did we get the bathroom?
The bathroom is in the works for the cemetery. So that is definitely on the list for the next biennium.
Okay, because Brent's question, I think it's a budget issue, maybe a quick review of where we stand for the next 2 years under the new budget would be a good agenda item.
Okay.
Is that it, Karen?
Yes.
Okay. I have no questions. So, oh, sorry, Brent. Derek, rather, they switched us all around on my screen. Derek, did you have anything?
Well, I didn't, but now I do.
Okay.
I understand that Library Park is under the Park and Rec. And I assume that the library itself is not, since it's a special or separate entity now. I do have an inside source that I was wondering if it's possible sometime in the future, probably not, I don't know, that there's ways to create or install some sort of restroom outside of the park so that the folks that are using the water park outside in Library Park are not actually coming into the library. I know that does create some problems for library staff. Just a thought. Might be an agenda item in the future.
That's a good agenda item.
Okay, so I guess that's my question. Should that be an agenda item? Or I guess let me ask Kendall first. I'm okay making an agenda item, but Kendall, do you have any information about that may be helpful right now?
Well, that's never come up in discussion in regards to any issues with people coming in utilizing the library bathroom. My assumption is that once the COVID restrictions are lifted, that won't be an issue moving forward. But I am definitely willing to have some additional conversations with Greg, the library director, and see if they have some concerns associated with that. But that hasn't been brought to my attention.
Okay.
Yeah, if you talk to, it's not, who do you, I don't think it's Fred, who's Denise and
It's
Denise
Greg.
Butcher?
Greg.
Greg,
is
yeah,
the,
totally.
director.
They may have some input.
Okay.
You know, if you look at it when the library is actually really open, there's some really good signage about dry off before you come in. The other thing is a lot of parents are aware that the Tot Park has a bathroom available that's more Tot friendly. And sometimes if people have a concern about going into the library and it's not an emergency, you can point out that the Tot Park restrooms are also available.
I think those are all good things to bring up next month. And then Kendall said he'll do some checking and get some feedback. Derek, if you have anything, more that you get between now and then, certainly we want to hear it, come July as well. Okay. Is that it, Derek? Anything else?
Oh, it's good. Thank you.
Okay. Then next on the agenda is the next scheduled meeting. Looks like there's a misprint there, Kendall. It still has no, that's right. I'm sorry. Never mind. It's not a misprint. I'm looking too far ahead in my life. So the misprint is on my end. I thought that doesn't look right to me. And I did some checking and now I'm looking, I go, no, that's exactly right. We're not in July yet. We're June. So that is correct. So July 22nd, 7 o'clock. And then of course, that'll all be sent out to anyone in the public that wants it. And with that, we are adjourned. Have a good night and thank you very much.